Hey man, so we've got, I said, yesterday we were talking about when we were on the Red State tour. At the end of every show, we would sit around and talk to some folks, kids who are Avid students or people who are working in the, Avid editing system. Move over there.
I don't want to be in the picture.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, no. Put that
I'm
camera
in my
away, Megan.
and
Put the fucking camera down. Nobody wants that. It's early in the morning. So every place we went after the show, we'd sit down and talk to cats, and we would have done it in Los Angeles as well, but that wound up being a very, very long show. So these are the Avid kids. Some of the Avid kids. How many are there total? Stop taking pictures, Megan.
Oh my
Can't
God.
do that. No, fuck no. It's early morning. Nobody's taking a shower.
And I haven't showered in my pajamas.
How many? 6? What's your name, man?
Jason, man.
Jason, how are you? Just talking to this part of the mic?
Yes.
There you go. Can you hear yourself in the things? And what's your name, man?
Michael.
Michael. Okay, where do you guys go? These are two, are you editing students? Or you're just students in general and you're also part of the Avid program or editing program? You just like Avid. How the fuck did you get in my house? That's what I'm getting at. What are you doing here?
The door was open. I'm going to Los Angeles Film School right now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm pretty much falling in love with editing. I haven't quite gotten to Avid yet. I'm Final Cut so far.
Okay.
But also really digging screenwriting.
Right on. So. Sweet. What are you doing?
I go to USC, and I'm kind of like writing, directing, and then also heavy on the editing as well. So editing like thesis films and working in Avid quite a bit.
Right on. All right. So there's, you're 2 of 6, man. What we do is we just sit around and draw for a while. Normally we'd all sit together, but since there's only 2 mics, we're going to bring you in pieces. So you've got, the floor is yours. Ask whatever you want. You could even be like, why cop out, you fucking piece of shit? I even have an answer for that. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Cool. Well, I kind of saved watching Jersey Girl till 2 days ago.
Right on.
For the first time.
Okay.
And, I've been kind of inspired by your, taking down notes while watching Mallrats.
Doing
recently.
the Mallrats through a green prism on Smodcast. That's been fun. Right. I did one for Jersey Girl too. I think it goes up this week. Yeah.
I'll definitely listen to that.
It bears listening to.
Yes. And also I loved your idea on Mallrats too. I really think you should
follow through
one
on
more
it.
time. Really good.
Fair enough. Thanks, man. That's not a question.
Damn. Well, honestly, I mean, you're a movie dude just like I am. I mean, what movies are you looking forward to most this year?
Excellent question. What am I looking forward to seeing?
Super 8.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll see it, but I'm not like, oh my God. The Star Trek I was very excited for because I was like, I can't wait to see how they do this. And that looks good, but I'm not I can't say that I'm like, oh, I'm hopping up and down about it. I still look forward to seeing the new, Dark Knight movie, but that's not till next year.
Unfortunately.
I want to see Cap. I want to see all the comic book movies because why the fuck not? There was a movie out of Cannes that I noticed because it had my name in it, but it sounds really good. I think it's like What's the Matter with Kevin or something like that. Anybody hear about it?
Yeah.
It's the one with what's her name? Tilda Swinton's in it, and her son goes ape shit and shoots up a school Columbine style. That sounded pretty fucking bad. It just said Kevin. I've never seen the word Kevin in a movie title.
Like, oh
so
God, don't make it about me.
Yeah,
What's the matter with Kevin? Kevin Smith has imploded.
Exactly.
Kevin Smith has lost his mind. He started a radio station.
So terrified of that. Thankfully, it's about a kid who kills people. Not me at all.
Oh God.
And I happen to name him Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second. But I know about that one. That's coming. But I haven't paid that much attention to too much. Like today, I actually watched, teasers or trailers for the first time in fucking a while. It felt like, I watched the Conan trailer.
Oh.
Which, to be fair, it's like, I sat there going, you know, I had mixed emotions. I don't know why. For 1 second, I got real protective. Like, why the fuck would they do, why aren't they using the Conan music at least? And then I was like, that was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter to anybody but people that used to watch that movie. There's a whole generation of kids that don't even know who the fuck Conan is. Think of him as Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor, and that's about it. So then I rewatched the trailer. It's pretty badass. Like if that was Conan when I was a kid, it would have been really fucking cool.
Yeah. Was it the teaser or do they have an actual trailer out?
They have a full fucking trailer, man. I mean, it doesn't really tell the story, but it was like 2 minutes in length, and there was it showed a lot of footage. Everything looked good. Everything looked the way it should. Looked much closer to the original, to the source material than the Arnold film had been. But I can't say like, oh my God, if I don't see that, I'm going to die. But I was really impressed by that. I thought it was like, oh, they handled it well. And then I watched some other trailer, but it totally fucking escaped me. What's coming out this summer?
Green Lantern?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see that just because it's like, I want to see Tomer Ray and fucking Kilowog in a movie together.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a huge Green Lantern fan, but I'll totally check it out.
Yeah, like I saw the first trailer they released was just kind of okay. And then they released the 4-minute long WonderCon trailer.
Yes.
That's
badass. And when you
the
hear
aliens are the best part of that.
Totally. Well, once you get to Oa, I mean, that's why CGI was almost created. So you could do something like this. So you could go to Oa and see like a fucking army of Green Lanterns and whatnot, and see Sinestro, and it's that aspect of it I'm totally on board with. But it was not one of the DC characters that I would have rather seen a Green Arrow than a Green Lantern movie. But now the Green Lantern's here, I'm all on board. I hope they run it like they run Marvel too, where they put in like fucking things at the end, like, you know, the little teasers for the next movie.
That's
or
what
something.
It seems like. Because don't they have like what is it, Amanda Waller showing up? She's kind of like the Nick Fury sort of.
Yeah.
You know, connect everything.
Yeah. So. She ran Belle Reve Prison and Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Oh, it'd be badass.
I was going to ask, I know you've seen Thor. What'd you think of the whole Hawkeye cameo?
It seemed kind of tacked on.
A little, yeah.
Like really tacked on, and as much as like if they could, I mean, truly tacked on. It felt like they shot that movie.
So it was tacked on.
Yeah. And then they felt like, where can we put him in? Here. Cause it was just like, you know, Hawkeye or whatever, go get set up for the shot. And he's there interacting kinda with the scene, and he's ready to fucking shoot Thor, but then it's like, stand down. And he doesn't do it. And you're like, okay, if Thor had looked up and been like, I saw you, Hawkeye, whatever, just anything. But it really felt like Dustin Hoffman in that last Fockers picture, man, where it was just like they tacked it all on kind of later on. But whatever, it's cool. It's cool. They keep it in continuity. I dig it though. You know, even it was unnecessary, but I liked it. The moment like you saw that dude grab the crossbow, I did get a little like, oh, that's fucking badass. You know? And they didn't even have to show him. If they had just shown that, I would have been like, oh shit, Hawkeye.
Right.
But that was kind of neat. Yeah. All right, man, what do you got?
Well, I guess since we're here on Avid's behalf, I was going to ask you a little bit about editing, because I saw Red State, obviously, and loved it. I thought it was amazing. And I'm just really curious because, like, it's such a heavy action film.
Yes.
And it's so different from everything else that you've done and everything else that you've cut.
Yeah.
Did you have to, like, make a transition, or did you have to approach it differently in the cutting?
No, I'll tell you, this is one of those instances where maybe it came with a little bit of age or haven't done it for nearly 20 years, but technology really aided that film. Like the shooting on Red and cutting on Avid made Red State what it was, because it took us up a jump. Dave Klein, who's the DP, was able to be a lot more mobile. Since we were jumping off the page of doing comedy of people talking to one another, I felt like, let's go for broke. Let's make it look like other movies. Like rather than the shit we normally do, let's make it look, a lot more visceral. Let's make it a visual experience as well. Because we were trying to establish some mood and stuff that I don't normally do. Like I establish mood in the comedies by being like, you know, fucking, hey, cocksucker, and the mood's established. But with this, you can establish mood in a different way. You can use the visuals to tell the story. Lack of dialogue could help set the mood. So going into it, I'd always told Dave, he's like, what do you want it to look like? I said, I want it to look like, that movie, Half Nelson. I said, I love the look of Half Nelson. I want it all grainy like that. And he looked at Half Nelson again. He said, do you think you're responding to the grain? And I said, yeah, it just feels like an indie flick to me. And that's the look it needs to have. And he goes, I think you're responding to it being handheld. And I said, let's watch it. And we watched it again. I was like, you're right. It is. It's just everything is fucking handheld. And he's like, I think we should do that in our flick. I think everything can be handheld. Even if we jump on a dolly, we'll handhold it. And so we were able to accomplish a lot more with the Red than we would have with a big old 35 millimeter camera. Cause every time we were in tight spaces, little places, running around and shit, running up tiny ass staircases. That camera, that Canon camera we used, I think we had a 5D. I don't know if we used a 70. I think we had a 5D. But all that footage would come in on a daily basis, and I'm the cutter. So I'd be shooting it on the day, and it was already looking different than anything we'd done. Like that was our manifest going in. Let's make it this clean slate. Like it's no comedy, and there's laughs in it, but it's not like a straight up comedy. So we get to approach it the way anybody would approach the material, not just how I would normally kind of shoot. And that's the thing. I was not saying like I was always capable of this, but there was just never a reason to shoot this way. Like none of the movies called for it. Give me one of the flicks we've ever done where it's like, oh, it would have been better served by, you know, a way more intense kind of visual scheme or cut heavy. You know, it's not.
It was always focused on the dialogue.
Yeah, it's just people talking and making jokes and shit. So this one, no, but shooting on those two formats and then like being able to cut every fucking day. That's what the Avid, thank you, made it insanely easy for me. The workflow was phenomenal. You dump it from your Red or from your Canon, right into the Avid, and boom, I was cutting that night early the next morning. And a big part of my process I've spoken about everywhere was how I would cut and bring it in the next day. I was staying current with the cut. So I'd cut footage from the day before, bring it in the next morning and show cats what it looked like. Like basically, the call time would be 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd be coming in at 7 instead. Everyone coming at 6, set up for the shot. And they knew what we were going to do because I talked to Dave and Adam the night before, the AD, to say, this is what we'll do first in the morning. Set up for this. Then I'll get there at 7 and we'll roll. Bought myself an extra hour and I would just sit behind the deck all night. So I'd come in with a laptop, just put it on top of the Video Village, plug it into a Squawk box, and then just tell people, gather around. And the whole cast and crew would gather around. We'd just sit there and watch the flick. And when you're watching the flick come together with the people making the flick, there's something wonderful there. It's no longer theoretical. Cause up till then, you're just sitting around with a bunch of people and the movie's a theory. You're like, hey, it's going to be this and it could be this. And a lot of them jump in, based on faith for what you've done before or hope that it's going to be this, but you can never impart what's in your head. You can never show them. It's always the frustration of trying to impart to somebody else what's in your head exactly. So I felt over the years it's just easier to show them instead. So as soon as I get footage, I can hack it together and be like, this is the movie. This is what I'm talking about. And when you show people that, number one, it looks badass. Like they see their work. They see the fact that it came together so quickly. They see the actors see you're honoring their performances right away. Like, ooh, you made the good choices. Like, I like everything they chose. The crew gets to see the movie coming together. Normally they don't fucking see jack shit until the party, until the premiere.
Later.
Yeah. Not even the premiere. They don't even let those cats go to the premiere. They go to a cast and crew screening. So for me, I'm like, if you're coming to work on the set and you're doing it for next to nothing, and that's what it was on Red State, I want to be able to show you everything. And so I'd keep them up to date and whatnot. And I honestly believe that it informed the movie. It made it better because I'm feeding off their energy. They were feeding off mine. I'm showing the flick. They're like, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, it is it, isn't it? And I'll go back and I'll listen to what they say. If there's I don't need this part or that part didn't play, I can use them as a sounding board. And then that process happened every day. So every day, man, I was behind the editing deck. I'd stand there on a set and edit in my head, just kind of coming up with all the edit points for everything, watch every performance. And we didn't overshoot. It wasn't like you got Michael Parks. He drops a 15-minute monologue. It's brilliant. You don't need to do it again just to let's get a safety, everyone. I'd be like, I'm happy. You happy? And he's like, I'm great. We just fucking move on. And it helps. We didn't have any money, so it's easier to move on that way. But that helps in the editing process too, because then I'm sitting there going, okay, I know what I'm cutting from. And in my head on set, I'm working more as an editor than a director, because you don't walk up to John Goodman and go here's how you should do this, master thespian who's been working way longer than me, worked with the Coen brothers. Let me tell you how Kev Smith would do it. No, at this point in my life, I'm like, I want John Goodman to do it how John Goodman would do it. Or Michael Parks the way I can't tell Michael Parks how to act. Melissa Leo just won an Oscar. So the idea of me going up to her and being like, okay, here's how Silent Bob wants it done. No, I'm just not into that anymore. What I do is stand behind the cameras and watch the monitors and edit. Essentially I just kind of edit. It's basically like me going, okay, I've got this beat in my head. I got that beat. I get this beat. Wait, I didn't get that. We gotta go back and grab that, or that's what I'll need, or maybe I'll just use that to cut away. I'll be on the other side for this, blah, blah, blah. And as I continue doing that, then boom, suddenly it all comes together. There's an EDL in your head, an edit decision list in your head, so to speak, to use Avid lingo. And then, when you sit down at the actual deck 10 hours later, it's still kind of fresh and you're just ready to fucking hit the ground running. So that helped me to stay current with the entire cut. And that, I think, made Red State what it was, keeping the film up to date with the cast and crew, and me feeding off their energy and us going this is different. This is great. We all got interested in the movie. We all just kind of got invested because you're watching it unfold. And even though you're making it, the magic tends to go away when you're fucking backstage all the time. But if you could show them the movie the next day, you could keep the magic going, because oh shit, this is bad. This is what the movie is. Now I'm seeing this scene. And then it helps them going into the next set of sequences. Suddenly they're like, oh shit, it looked like this. I'm going to step it up on this and change it up or something like that. Or you can connect sequences a lot easier, or just you get more and better work out of people when you show them how well they've been doing. You'd show the whole cast and crew this cut scene from the previous day. They work twice as hard that day because everyone's fucking feeling this is great. This is turning into something. This ain't a crapshoot. You don't have to motivate them beyond that. It's just this is what you're doing. You guys are doing great. All right, let's do it again today. And that was essential. So Avid made the movie what it is. Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool.
They're going to boot you guys out of the chair. Good time. You hang out here. Feel free, man.
Look.
A good girl. Yes.
Hey.
Yeah. How are you? Pull the mic a little bit closer so we can hear you. There you go. Yeah, it's rare that we ever see girls on film or in film. Ladies, sorry, my bad. Women in film. WIF, as they say. What's your name?
My name's Ashley Maria.
Where do you go?
I go to USC.
Right on, SC kid. Who went to SC? Give some cats out there in listener land. Who are the people that went to SC? Some famous alumnus, as they say.
George Lucas. Maybe.
What has he done?
Some star movie.
Right.
John Singleton. We just had John Williams come back and actually walked in on a buddy of mine's edit of his film.
John Williams, the composer?
Yeah.
Did your friend not notice him? And then he was in the back going, no, 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 no. He was like, hey, is that John Williams? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just humming my own song.
No, he actually, one of the people, taking him on tour walked up to him and said, hey, just stay calm. Just stay calm. And my friend's like, all right, cool. It's fine.
Why? Because he was freaking out as John Williams?
Yeah. I think Steven Spielberg was in there and George Lucas. Like,
did Spielberg, did he go to SC? No, but he's contemporaries with a lot of cats that did. Mm-hmm. Friends and stuff. Who else went?
You got
Robert Zemeckis.
Are you as USCer?
I am.
Well? What's your name?
Tony.
Tony, Tony what? I was like, I'm not telling you the last name. Non de plume. Tony Smith. Tony, you go to SC.
I do.
What, who else has gone there besides the listed folks?
Ron Howard.
Okay, fucking Opie. He went there?
Yeah, he went there.
When, before or after the show?
I think after. He was a little young.
I guess.
And,
well, there were two shows. I mean, one show he was kind of old in.
I think he
actually went to school. I just assumed that dude would have segued from being the Ron Howard Theater.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's small.
Why would he have to?
It's still,
unlike Ron Howard himself, it's very small. Okay. And who are you, man?
My name's Tony too.
Tony as well. Okay. Tony C to separate. And what, do you go to SC as well?
No, I go to Cal State LA.
Now, where's that?
That's right up, about, 3 miles east of downtown.
Okay. Who are the alumnus there?
Not many. Edward James almost went there.
Right on. Fucking Commander Adama and whatnot. And he's also made film. He made, American Me, directed. Yeah. I think he's directed again too, or a few since that, but that was the one I remember him directing.
Yeah. And who else? Octavia Butler. She's a sci-fi writer.
Okay.
She went there. As far as the film school, that's about it. They're pretty new.
Right on.
New program they're rolling out.
Floor is your guys. What do you want to talk about? I'll tell you anything I know.
Question.
Fire away.
Well, you were talking about editing while you're on the set, just like figuring it out.
Yes.
Have you ever been in the situation where you're just really not sure what that beat should be, so you kind of get yourself options?
Never.
Never?
No. Next. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, that'll happen from time to time. Cause of course in your head you have something you're going for. And when you're lucky, they give you something better than what you're going for. The actors kind of deliver magic. Dave puts a spin on it or finds a way to shoot it where you're like, oh my God, I saw it this way. This is even fucking better. Mm-hmm. Very rarely though, but it will happen where you hit that moment where you're just like, I don't know what the connective tissue is. And I think most people, to avoid that, tend to just shoot the shit out of stuff. Like most studio, guys, the guys that direct for the studios, and not like Spielberg and shit like that, but the people that kind of do the programmers of the studios, they, there's a standard coverage list of like master, medium, close, extreme close, and we'll do 3 in each or something like that. And that way they shoot the shit out of it, turn their crap over to an editor or a team of editors and be like, you figure it out. And I've never done that. I like to figure it out while I'm there so that when I get to the table, I'm not wasting time going like, oh, let's rediscover the movie. Like Richard Kelly is a great filmmaker. Richard Kelly, though, always looks at the editing process as this puzzle to be figured out. Like I've known him now through 2 edits of films, and he's always like, oh, editing is it's nightmare. He's like, it's a big puzzle you have to figure out. I'm like, it's not. It doesn't need to be. Like, you should be in and out of the editing room pretty fucking quickly. And in fact, you should be cutting the whole time. And then when the movie's done, out. Like, it's not, you don't have to find, if you're searching for the movie in your footage, you fucked up because that script should be a blueprint that should work. Even if you're like, we're way off page with the dialogue or we found different, better ways to do things, you've still got a fucking blueprint. So anybody's like, I'm in the editing room and I'm breaking apart and I can't figure it out. I think they're looking too hard, or they didn't really have a clear path going in. For me, I like to figure it out there. The few times that you can't figure it out, That's when you turn to everyone else, man. That's when you invite in expert opinion. You know, back in the day, I would turn to Scott Mosier all the time or something like that. But the older one gets, the fewer moments like that you have. Like, it's kind of neat. The older you get, the more you do it. The more you're like, no, this is, you find your way. You become Neo, kind of. You just see a series of zeros and ones every place. And not because you're like, I'm a Jedi, but you're just like, I've done it so often. You could do that kind of, I could fight with one hand tied behind my back because I know how to navigate the waters of any type of storytelling, you know, and visual storytelling was the last frontier for me to conquer, oddly enough, even though I've been a filmmaker all this time, but I finally kind of figured out how to tell a story with pictures now too. So for the moments it happens, turn to someone you trust and be like, help me. Or what do you see? Or what am I fucking missing here? And I would used to do that with Scott all the time. Like, what am I fucking missing? And Scott was always a wonderful rock to be like, yeah, well, why don't you do this? Or you need this, or we'll need this shot. Stuff like that. Okay. What do you guys got?
So, I'm sorry. It seems like you say you edit it at night and you're directing during the day. I'm just curious, how long was your day?
We would shoot normal days, like 12, 14 hours. We didn't really have long days, because we had 5-day weeks. And since people weren't getting paid a shit ton of money, we tried to keep it as easy on them as possible and end when we could. And again, since we weren't overshooting, it wasn't like, hey man, we're on take 90. Sorry folks, one more time. We're going to get this right this time. So it was just a matter of, the days didn't go much longer than they normally would be. We didn't do a lot of overtime. I think the last day was our longest day, and that was like 16 hours or something. But generally speaking, we kept it, if you keep it civil, you always got to remember that it's like, you've got 100 people or less, but between 50 and 100 people working on your behalf to tell this story. So you can't just always go, what's my mood like? You always have to think about how it's going to affect all the way down, because one weak link in the chain, you're fucked. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's not doing their job because they're like, fucking tired, man. Like, we've been doing this too often or something like that, or too long today, then you get screwed. So you want to keep the day comfortable. For me in production, I don't give a fuck, because it's like, you live that moment like you've got 5 minutes left to live. You're like, this is it. One bite at this apple. I'm not the guy that believes, hey, we can go back and make it better in reshoots and stuff. I like to try to do it there first time. So in the moment, I don't need much sleep. In production, I function on like 2-3 hours sleep a night. So we'll shoot all day and then I'll cut all night until I can kind of collapse editing, or just kind of grab 2 hours, then get up and then head back in. And but that's just because you're so juiced on like, this is amazing. We're fucking making a movie. That's the beautiful thing that's never went away. And the important thing you always kind of need is like, I love this. It's awesome. Can you believe this is awesome? Like, I never went onto a set where I'm like, ugh, right? The drudgery of having to make pretend for a living. Boy, we are taxed. It's just that feeling of, it's fucking amazing. I can't believe they pay us for this. I'm a really irritating guy to be around on set because I'm always walking up to crew people, poking them, being like, can you believe I get paid for this? It is amazing. And they're like, you're getting paid a lot more, motherfucker. But still, the point is there. So for me, I like to go, I have a lot of exuberance. The moment the movie's done, collapse, boom. That's it. That's when I start sleeping for more time and stuff. But during production, I can keep it moving. And I'm not saying everybody should, but I think most people do. Anybody who's telling you, oh, I'm so tired or exhausted while making a movie, unless they're a stunt man or somebody that actually has to run or move around. If they're a director who's talking about being exhausted, I don't buy it, because you got the best job and all your dreams are coming true. Everything you want is given to you in that period. And everybody's job is about making your job easier as well. So there should never be anything to bitch about, you know? I mean, yeah, you can flagellate yourself and get pissed at yourself for not making it look like the way you saw it in your head or something like that, but you can't ever get mad at a fucking crew, man. Never do it. And you always got to let them sleep, and you got to fucking feed them well, because an army marches on its stomach. So you always got to make sure the food is as good as it could possibly fucking be. Yeah. Sleep a little though. Yes.
I can't tell you how much I respect the fact that you edit your own work.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate your respect, because that means a lot to me. I do. I take it very seriously. I'm one of those cats. I don't slam it down other directors' throats like, hey, you should be. But I always tell them, like, you should. Richard, fucking Edgar, I'm like, you guys should be cutting it yourself. I know their editors like, shut the fuck up, man. That's my job. But I always feel like a filmmaker should have hands on the footage. You gotta know every frame, because it's yours. And it always never made sense to me to just be like, just shoot all this coverage and somebody else will fucking figure it out. You're half invested at that point. Like, cause the movie doesn't end on the set. That's where the movie just starts, man. Putting all that footage on film and whatnot, that's a great beginning, but the movie's made like throughout the process up until the moment it's finished. And most of it is made in editing. You know, otherwise you just got a series of long takes. So, for me, I've always felt like directors should, particularly writer directors, should always take it one step further and just continue the process. If you've written a script and you've maintained the integrity of the script by directing it, why not take it one step further, maintain the integrity of the script or the whole feature by editing as well. So thank you. I take great pride in that.
I personally love the collaborative process, you know, with an editor. I'm more of a writer, director, producer.
Right.
I think Avid's great, but I don't know how to use it as well as very talented editors that I know. Question I'm curious about is as a writer director, in particular director, what your process is working with your actors, you know, rehearsals, if you have them. And I mean, as we were walking in, you were talking about, you know, working with John Goodman and how unbelievably amazing he is. But just in general with, you know, the cream of the crop, and then, you know, also, you know, smaller name actors, just your process working with them.
Back in the day, I used to work them like puppets. First two movies, I was one step short of jamming my hand up their ass and making their mouths move myself. Like, I would just tell them, say it like this. They'd do lines. I'd be like, no, you're saying it wrong. Say it like this. And Mallrats, Shannon Doherty was like, did you just give me a line reading? I was like, is there a name for this? Yes. Say it like this. Here's my line reading. And then, Chasing Amy, I started getting more into directing by like, how something felt. Like, trying to explain like a feeling we were going for in a scene, because it wasn't so much about fast dialogue anymore. It was also about emotion. So I remember like literally having to give Joey and Jason and Ben like touchy-feely direction for the first time. And I'd worked with them on Mallrats, and I was so terrified to give it to them because I thought they would be like, what the fuck, dude? Ew, you're all emo arty and shit. So I wouldn't know how to do it. And then finally I just bit the bullet and went in and be like, you need to feel like this. It needs to like grab you. Like you see him and blah, blah. That shit you always see in movies where they're like, you walk in the room, you see the guy, you just want to have him or something like that. But not nearly that bad. And so I would tell them the feeling I was going for, and they know none of them ever made fun of me. Turns out that's what actors want. Like they're like, yes, thank you for that. I can do something with that. So I used to do that. That was the process from Chasing Amy kind of forward. I stopped giving line readings. The more, professional you get, the better you get at your job, and also the better caliber of actors you're working with. The chances are they're going to start giving a delivery that you never even thought of while you were writing the thing. So that's what would happen a lot. Like on Dogma, Alan Rickman would deliver dialogue differently than I had written it without changing a fucking word. And I was like, oh shit, sometimes you can work with an actor who'll fucking take it and run the fuck with it and give you gold. So at that point I started kind of letting them do more of their own thing rather than just riding actors all the time. And by the time I got to Red State, it's really a process of sitting back and appreciating more than anything else. Like a lot of my direction on Red State, I worked more with the boys than anything else, but even the boys didn't need me. Like the boys, we did the first take of the boys gathered together at the lunch table, and Michael Angarano and Nick had known each other, but neither of them had met Kyle. And by the time they did their first take, those cats had sat together, did about 20 minutes of kind of a run through, and found a kind of emotional center for their characters, made them a little believable and shit. And enough that you actually care that they get hurt. Like as scripted, you didn't give a fuck if they got hurt. So, at that point, I don't have to even do much there. I'd go over once in a while and kind of say, try this, do this inflection, jump in quicker, blah, blah, blah. By the time I got to Michael Parks and John Goodman and Melissa Leo, really my directing came down to like a take would end and I would walk over to him and be like, that was fucking awesome. And then walk away. There's nothing really to kind of do. So I think it depends the cast you're working on to some degree, but also the older you get or the more comfortable you get doing it, because there's a lot of insecurity comes along with a job like this, because make pretend, and it's this make pretend job, one of the only make pretend jobs in the world where people will grade you on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you hang out with your friends when you're a kid and you're like, we're playing Star Wars and I'm fucking an AT-AT and you're not fucking an AT-AT, but I'm an AT-AT and you're fucking attacking me and all these different games and shit. Nobody's sitting there going, it's fucking unbelievable. Like George Lucas isn't sitting there going, no AT-AT would ever walk like that. This is ridiculous. And an X-Wing can't fly between those legs. You don't get graded like that. On this job of make pretend, you do get graded. Right. You get graded, commercially in terms of like whether or not people want to pay to see. You get graded by, critics. You get graded by the audience. People are always going to tell you whether you're making pretend well or not. And so at that point, that can be a little frustrating because you're just like, isn't it subjective how one makes pretend? Like really, it's kind of like, can you grade that sort of thing? Can it even be graded? Shouldn't it just be appreciated or not watched? Or I don't know. I got lost in my own answer. Did I answer that correctly?
Yeah. Do you rehearse?
Do I rehearse? I haven't rehearsed in a while. We stopped. Let me see. The last time we did big time rehearsals, I mean, Clerks 2, we did half a week at best. Maybe we did a week or more because Jennifer was new in that one. And I hadn't worked with Brian or Jeff in a little while too. And Rosario was with us like once or twice. I think we rehearsed for like a week on Clerks 2.
Okay.
On Clerks, it was a month straight. Mallrats was 3 weeks. Chasing Amy was also a month. Dogma was less. I think we did 2 weeks. And that's when I started losing the rehearsal thing. Cause we would rehearse every day for like 6 hours a day and run that shit like a play. So by the time we got it in front of cameras, we kept the take ratio low. Cause that was the formula we did Clerks with. It's like, let's rehearse this so that by the moment we turn the camera on, we're only going to use as much film as we possibly need because we're all very good at this and we know exactly what it should sound like. So that's fun and made it inexpensive, but thank God we were all rank amateurs because none of us would have felt all that creatively fulfilled, working to time, essentially, just going, mimicking a performance that we had established 2 months prior.
Right.
So you couldn't do something like that on Red State, nor would you want to. And by the time you get to something like Red State, you got a movie with name actors in it who are doing it for next to nothing. So it becomes kind of demanding to be like, hey, can you come in and do rehearsals for 2 weeks as well? Now, actors like acting, period. But at the same time, if they're going to make nothing on this flick, you got to give them as much opportunity to go off, earn elsewhere, or do other gigs and whatnot. You don't want to monopolize their time with your flick. The fact that they're going to do it on the day is kind of enough.
Right.
So for me, there's that aspect of it. But beyond that, when you're working with pros, it's just like, what the fuck what is the rehearsal going to do? I do 2 hours of rehearsal with John Goodman. It's just like, as I suspected, John Goodman is a good actor. Let us move on. It's kind of seems kind of pointless at that point. But if I was working with a younger cast, I would do a lot of rehearsals and stuff.
Cool.
Do we miss anybody? We got one more. We hit everybody on mics. All right. Well, let's chill out. Anybody got more questions?
I got a question.
Fire away.
You said that these are awesome. The cast was awesome. I mean, everybody was
on Red State.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And how do you convince them to do something for less money? Was it the passion of the project that they were into?
That's a good fucking question. Like, who knows what makes somebody make that decision? It depends. Like, we did these Red State of the Union podcasts, which you can hear at smodcast.com, where we sat down with cast and crew members who worked on the flick and did real, like, kind of frank, like, candid chit chat like this. Kyle, in terms of the actors, Kyle, Nick, Michael Angarano, they all talk about reading the script and kind of, you get a feeling for why they did it. They're younger and they're all like, hey man, I know Clerks, or I've seen Clerks. I mean, they were cum when Clerks came out, but they've heard about it or seen it since then. So they're, my name helped in that world. With someone like, John Goodman or Melissa Leo, it's going to be the content. Like maybe the name will get them to be like, oh, I know that name. And then they're going to read the script. But these cats get offered tons of shit. Right. So, like John Goodman never doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? The dude's constantly booked. So for him to make time, he's either going to want a huge fucking payday, which I don't think, he doesn't seem like even the dude who's just like, hey man, pay me. Well, he's been in a few studio movies, I'm sure, but you either got to pay him a bunch or you've got to fucking grab him. Right. Like you got to get him hard. And so I guess Red State grabbed him. He said it in the trailer at one point. Like he was just like, I dug the script. He's going just right away. He's like, and nobody ever gives me a chance to play like a part like this, because his character gets to go a bunch more places than I guess Goodman gets to go. Normally Goodman usually gets to play comedically very well, very strongly. He gets to play arch, and kind of big character actor parts, but this is a normal guy who's thrown into extraordinary, circumstances or situations. And I don't know, it's kind of neat. Like when I watch him in the flick, he reminds me of Dan Connor, the character he played in Roseanne. Just not as funny, but very realistic. And so, dude, the only reason he's going to do it is if, and since we're not going to be paying any money whatsoever, the only way you're going to hook him is if he digs the material. And he dug the material because A, I guess he liked the story, but B, he was like, this is great. I get to do shit in this movie that I don't normally get to do. So that's how you get some actors. Maybe you don't get a chance as you find something for them where it's just like they've never done this or nobody would ever give them a chance to do this. They think of this actor as one thing only. And for you to flip the script a little bit and be like, no, you could play this. They'll be like, oh my God, I'll run at the chance to do that. And I'll do it for next to nothing just for the sake of doing it.
I have another question.
Fire.
Time. Now you edit, and I mean, as a director, do you feel like you're too close to the material at times?
Yeah,
and
very.
But
I think you have to be. Yeah. At least for my type. Look, there are all different types of directors, but the writer directors, you can't help but be fucking attached to that material. Like me handing it over to editors isn't going to change the fact that I birthed it. It started as an idea in my head, sat down, wrote those scripts, every draft of those scripts, sat there, rehearsed it, sat there directing it. It just feels like, it'd be like my old lady, like after Harley came out, she was like, okay, let's give it away to somebody else to form and shape, and we'll get her back when she's a developed person. Like, why would we give up on all the best aspects of that creation, that thing that we're so connected to? So I'm always leery of anybody that's just like, yeah, but you need an editor so you can have a non-biased opinion of your, fuck that. I don't want a non-biased opinion of my film. It's my art. I want it to be my art and expression of me, and bring in some other hands into it to get this clearer perspective. That's fine for commercial work. You know, when you're making fucking the X-Men movie, the new one, I read a few stories online where Matthew Vaughn, they, I think he's the director, they rushed into the making of that movie. Like most studio flicks, maybe they weren't 100% ready and they were playing catch up the whole time. So they have multiple editors working on that movie. But let's be honest. In, you know, X-Men, the next class or the new class, whatever, we're not looking for the emotional truth and honesty of what Magneto feels when he lifts a carrier jet out of the sea. We just want to see some cool shit happen. So you need a bunch of editors at that point making that shit all work so there's a coherent movie. So when you plop down $10, you're like, all right, yeah, that's fucking worth it. For what you do as a writer director, you're more dialed into the material. You don't want somebody coming in and with fresh eyes. The fresh eyes belong to the audience. For me, I'd rather stay totally involved so that rise or fall, the movie's going to be on me. Like I got nowhere to hide at the end of the day. I can't be like, well, the editor fucked it all up. If only I'd been able to do it my way. It's all me from the end, from start to finish. So you get the glory and you get the shit. But I'll take it because that's the job. I feel. I'm not saying that it should be that for every filmmaker. You know, you guys mentioned Ron Howard before. Ron Howard shoots his shit, hands it over to an editor, and that's that. And that does not make him a bad filmmaker by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a director. He didn't write the scripts in most cases. He's bringing the material to life, but you know, he's like, look, I'll let an editor do an editor's job. Writer directors, I feel, are a little more programmed, or at least I am. Maybe Robert Rodriguez as well. A little more programmed to hold on to that material as long as possible because you want everything that kind of goes up there on the screen to just be it. Like that tells the story. This is me, and I can't say it was this person or hide behind this. It would feel weird to me at this point to turn the editing over to anybody else. And I'm always leery of it. That seems like I've seen that a few times in print, mostly from online bloggers or film journalists. Well, they'll be like, oh, you should let a fucking real editor take a crack at your material. I'm like, okay, why don't you direct a movie, write one, direct it, and then you tell me how easy it is to let go of your editing. And then we'll talk. It's just ridiculous theory thrown at you from somebody who's never done it to say, well, you need a fucking biased set of eyes looking at your shit. Like, that's the ravings of a lunatic to say that to an artist. It'd be like saying to a painter, just like, you know, you're allowed to kind of strap the canvas to the sticks, and you can organize the paints, and I'll let you even hold the brush, and I'll let you do the first 3 strokes. But then somebody else is going to come in, and once they get an idea of what you want, they're going to finish your painting. For me, that don't make sense. You guys got anything else?
I just want to say, while I loved Red State, I thought it was fantastic.
Right on.
My favorite film of yours is Dogma.
Oh, thank you. The other religious movie. I'm at my best when I'm talking about religion, I guess.
Yes. And, I actually come from a very, Catholic family.
Me too.
You'll appreciate this. My mom actually used to be a nun.
Holy shit, man.
Long time ago.
She gave it up. Who's your father had the magic dick, dude. To tempt her out of the fucking cloister? You know how difficult it is to make any chick interested in you, let alone one who's married to Jesus Christ? Your dad must have been amazing, dude. I hope he's listening. He's like, I am, son. Plug it. Tell him how good I am.
The interweb thing is much more complicated for him. So I don't think he's listening.
Tell him he's got a big slap on the back from me, man. I always dreamed of defrocking a nun.
Will do. But I heard, there's so many great films out there that, I cringe when I hear, they're making a sequel to this.
Yeah.
I heard, I believe several years ago that you had talked about the possibility of making a sequel to Dogma. Is that right?
Somebody had asked me online,
okay,
would you ever do a sequel to Dogma? And I was like, no, but I remember around Dogma, I thought that if there was a sequel, it would be this. And I talked about what I thought it would have been.
Interesting. Okay.
And it was literally came down to a few lines. It wasn't even the whole plot. It was just like, a character would be, the child that, was in Linda when the movie ended. So Linda's baby.
Very
and it would be about the end of the world. And the baby would have had to have been played by Alanis since Alanis was God.
Yeah.
So, I wrote that and then somebody was just like, Smith musing about Dogma sequel online, and got a little carried away. But yeah, that was kind of like the only aspects of it I thought about. But the sequel to Dogma or notions or whimsies were more about plot and less about the content, and Dogma was all about content. Like at the end of the day, it's very plot heavy and probably the most plot heavy movie I've ever written.
Right.
But it's about what the plot hangs on. And I had a shit ton to say about faith, spirituality, Catholicism, Christianity. Right. At that point, if I were to go into a sequel to Dogma, it wouldn't have the same, because I shot my wad on that subject. I found a different way to talk about spirituality or religion in Red State. Yeah. And that to me was like, if you're going to do it again, either you can say something new or you can tack on to the old. And I've always felt like I wouldn't have anything new to say about Dogma. Like the storyteller part of me is like, oh my God, I would love to continue the story, because it would have been heaven and hell, war on earth. So it would have been a very expensive movie. Jane Bob would have been in it as well. And it would have been called Dogma Apocalypto or something like that. So like that, you can go that route, but that's more kind of the comic book fan of me would have appreciated that. But the elements of what Dogma was about wouldn't have been there. It just would have been a more sequel in form only than an idea. Whereas Red State feels more like a kind of sequel to Dogma in idea and concept. And really to me, it feels even more like a sequel to Clerks. Like Red State feels like the movie I would have made if I had stuck to an original plan a long time ago, which is like make one movie that got us into the door and then make something else. I mean, that was Dogma, but it feels like Red State is really the spiritual sequel to Clerks in my head. I'll always think of it as such. Like,
nice.
I always think of it as like I made Clerks, and then I took a 15-year break and had a lot of fun. And then I came back and made Red State. So it was kind of a reverse Terrence Malick, where I did shit between the movies. That's what I feel like.
Very cool.
All good? We all good? I'm going to chase you guys out. And go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, since we're all student filmmakers, just what are your advice? Like, what's your advice to students?
Make Clerks, because it fucking worked for me. But beyond that, tell your stories, man. You can always have a bunch of people running at you every step of the way who are going to try to tell you you're doing it wrong, or you fucked it up, or you're not doing it as good as X, Y, or Z, and that will fuck with your head. You can't not let it. You're an artist, so you're sensitive to shit like that. And anybody that says they're completely desensitized to criticism or people's opinion about what they do, they're just lying. That's why we do it. If we were an artist, we'd do it to ourselves in a fucking notebook, or it'd be more masturbatory and you'd never know anything about it. But we put it out there for people to enjoy. And all we're looking for is a big pat on the back and put that, grade A paper up on the fridge. We can't stand it when people are just like, I don't like it, because we never make it hoping that anyone will ever have that opinion. The older you get, the more you do it, you start to remember it's art. So sooner or later, if everybody likes it, it's not art. If everybody likes it, it's common consensus. You need people to be like, this sucks and you suck. Cause then you're like, I am an artist. You know what I'm saying? Cause that's what art is. Art hits everybody in a bunch of different ways. I show Red State to 100 people. Fuck it. I show Red State to 5 people and we get 5 different opinions. Very different. And some may be close in as much as the overall arcing opinion was we like or we did not like. But it's always going to be a different perception for every individual member of the audience, informed by way more than I bring to the table. I can do my job as good as I possibly can, to the best of my abilities, to the point where motherfuckers are like, I'm dumbfounded that this fucking idiot made this movie. And there will still always be somebody be like, he did it wrong, and be reductive and boil it down to fucking nothing because they had a bad day. because somebody wouldn't suck their dick that day, or because they fucking lost a job, or because I fucking look like somebody they can't stand, or because I'm always talking and they can't stand to hear you talk, or because fucking they had their period, or fucking because like they're just, any number of reasons go into watching that flick. So you can't like sit there and please everybody, and you're never going to win them all. And people that watch some of the shit will sit there that day and be like, you suck and this is horrible. And 2 years later might come back and be like, you know, I'm in a different place now. I don't know why, but I watched your movie and it hit me in a different way. I saw, what was it called? The Talented Mr. Ripley. First time I saw Talented Mr. Ripley, I reduced it to like, this is pretty people doing simple things. I said, I can't believe I wasted my time watching this movie. Talented Mr. Ripley is one of the 10 greatest films I've ever seen in my life. Like, I watch that movie more than I watch any other movie ever made. I think it's a fascinating film. First time I watched it, I was in a shit mood, and I kind of reduced it to that. So you got to always remember that who you're dealing with. It's not like they're never going to be like, we all see it the way you see it. And how they see it is going to be informed by dopey shit you have no control over. No matter how good you do their job, how good you do your job, something in their life, it may be a roadblock for them enjoying what you do, or maybe it's just not their fucking cup of tea. You're never going to get everyone because they're like, I don't like stories like that. So knowing that, throw it all away as best you can. I know you'll never be able to because it's impossible, but try to throw it all away. I wasted so much fucking time listening to people telling me I wasn't doing it right. And I regret it now. I look back now because I'm winding it up. I'm like, fuck, if I'd had that time back, I would have spent it more productively and just been like, okay, fair enough. You think I'm doing it wrong? Okay, bye. And move on and hang out with the people who thought I was doing it right. All the attention should be on the audience that shows up and continues to show up because they're the ones that can support you. I mean, I'm literally doing radio in my living room simply because there's an audience that kept coming back, and I kept talking to those cats and enjoying their company. And, you know, people will try to take it out of you by being like, he just plays to his fucking audience. And so he'll never grow as an artist. I submit that George Lucas has always played to his audience, and Steven Spielberg has always played to his audience, and fucking Michael Bay certainly plays to his fucking audience, the audience that likes to see buses turn into cars and beat each other up. That audience just happens to be large. Everybody has the potential to grow their own audience. If you don't give a shit about size, if you're not Alexander who wants to reach the end of the world and weep because there's nothing left to conquer, you can build yourself a happy little existence playing to your audience. And your audience is all you need. You don't need the rest of the fucking world. You don't need 100% consensus. We can't all be Lady Gaga. And she don't even get 100% consensus. So, you know, popularity comes and fucking goes and shit. You play to your audience, keep your eye on your fucking game, head up, stick down, and do what you want to do. Cause that's the thing that always baffled me. Motherfuckers telling you how you're doing self-expression incorrectly. There's no fucking way that anybody in this world and in this life can tell you that your self-expression is wrong. It's ridiculous. So never listen to those people. Those are the only people who hold you back. But, you know, of course, this is presuming you get your foot in and somebody gives you money if you want to go that route. But fuck that. You could do it yourself now. It's all affordable. All the tech is really inexpensive. Like Clerks, we made it for $27,575 in 1993. I could make that movie for less than $5,000 today. Same exact fucking movie. Cause the tech is all cheap and affordable. Problem is so much tech, all affordable. There's a glut, a lot of stuff out there. So you're cutting through, you got to cut through a fucking wide swath of material. Back when I did it, it was very few. It was a fistful. So it was easy to kind of rise to the top. But now it's just like you're one of hundreds, thousands, because the tech is available to all and because it is kind of fun to do. Like, you know, self-expression is fucking fun. If you can find a way to make a living off it, that's fantastic too. So for me, it was film for a while. Now it's going to be radio for a bit because radio's cheaper. That's what I found. And also film is the domain of the young, man. Like, cause who makes pretend better than young people? Not old people and shit. My make pretend days are kind of over. Now my make pretend is like, hey man, fucking, I watched Mallrats smoking weed and a dragon was in the sky. Like that kind of shit is fun to me. But make it pretend where it's like, I got an idea. I need 100 people and 20 million people to fucking pull it off. It seems like a waste of time and money for me because I've done it a bunch. But for cats who've never done it, now's your time to jump out there and be like, I've got an idea and it's going to take 20 million, 100 people. Problem is there's not so much money. So you got to lower it down. Be like, I've got an idea. It's going to take, you know, a bunch of friends and nobody's getting paid, but boy, it'll be great. And you can pull it off because the tech is there. So do it, man. Tell your fucking stories. Go out there, make your flicks. Never listen to anybody who says you fucked up and did it wrong. Find the people in your life whose opinions you trust. You know, I'm not saying find yes men or yes women, but find people whose opinion you trust, listen to them, and just make the movie you want to make. Hope that the audience enjoys it. Know that they all won't. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you get to say what you want to say. And that's the job. And that's what they count on you for. The ability for you to express yourself. The ability that you're going to stand there and be like, this is how I feel. Because you're doing it for people who can't do it for themselves. And oftentimes, either they can't afford to do it or they just can't do it, period. Like, some people aren't built that way. I can't do a fucking layup to save my life. But I've drive past basketball court after basketball court. I see people do it very fucking easily. It's not in my genetic makeup. I cannot do it. Some people are like that with emotions or with story. They just don't know how to entertain themselves. They don't know how to feel about some things. They would love to be able to express something that they can. Our jobs as artists is to put that into words form, or put it into a picture form, or put it into something that could be like, that's what I fucking meant. Oh my God. That's why people fall in love with shit like Titanic, because they're like, that's love to me. If I could have that love, that is my ideal type of fucking love. That's why people fall in love with like documentaries that say things. That's why people fall in love with fucking sitcoms, television shows. Something about it fucking speaks to them, where it's just like, oh my God, that is an idealized version of what I hear in my head or see in my heart when I look at the world or something like that. So be a part of that. It's a rich tradition to be the person that provides the distraction for everybody, so they don't realize they're going to die one day. And that's all the job is. Just make fun, make pretend, have fun, and do shit like that.
That's awesome.
Jennifer wants her mic back. She's like, get him out of here. All right, Cats. Thanks for coming over. And
Thank you so much.
Good luck with it all. Go make better movies than I ever did. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you, ma'am. Nice to see a woman film. Thank you. All right, man. We got to end our broadcast.
I've got more stories.
That's fine. No, we're not bad, though. It's only 10:07. I thought for a second, like, Jay was in the other room going, come on.
No, he is.
Snooch to the fucking nooch.
Well, all right, that was lovely. What nice kids.
Yeah. I love being young artists, people who are starting their skate as I'm finishing up. You're just always reminded. So the game keeps going
All
on.
of you can feel welcome to sit down.
Yeah, nobody's being chased out. She just wanted her seat back.
Please sit if you can stay. They're all standing.